Hey everybody, this is Nikki Muscle from MitigateStress.com. Welcome back to another episode. We're going to be discussing healthy weight loss for busy people. There's an unhealthy way to lose weight, not sustainable, high stress, very taxing on the body, and there's also a healthy way to lose weight, which we're going to be discussing with 7 simple but super effective tips and tricks today. This is a system that I have developed over the course of a decade working with hundreds and hundreds of fat loss clients. I always wanted to be a coach that worked with athletes, but I ended up attracting a ton of fat loss clients. And you know what? I kind of fell in love with the type of clientele because it was such a challenge. Because these clients worked with doctors, nutritionists, dietitians, other trainers, and they couldn't get the results. Not only it's the practitioner's fault, most of the time it's the client's fault, but nonetheless, I believe there is a way to communicate to the client that is super busy, because I've never not worked with a super busy client that wants to lose weight and build muscle and look good, feel good, right? So we're going to be talking about that today. This is a system I've developed over a couple decades, and it's very simple. We're going to probably revisit this topic so many times over the course of a couple years. But again, this is something that we could talk about hundreds of times over. This is a question that came from a customer. And if you do have a question, shoot us a direct message on Instagram, leave a comment on YouTube, and or email us at support@mitigatestress.com. We are here to help. Let's get started. So first and foremost, obviously the most important, which everyone talks about, is going to be calories in versus calories out. You got to start tracking your calories. Not because we're going to be in a 1,200 caloric deficit, like 1,200 calories every day. That is insanity. I don't know why professionals even recommend that or how they even get away with recommending that. I think it's crazy. I would suggest staying around, even if you're 5 foot, 100 pounds wet, I would suggest staying no lower than 1,600 to 1,800 calories, preferably around 2,000. Now, again, I'm not going to recommend calories quite yet because we do have to figure out where we are first. And then we can start playing with a slight deficit. The thing is though, I have worked with a lot of clients. I can't tell you how many I've seen that were truly in, unless they were lying, which some of them do, they were truly in a super deficit, like 1,200 calories, and they were working out 6 days a week. They just were not eating at all, and they were fasting and doing all this stuff. The thing is, if you are in an extreme stress state, sympathetic dominant state, and say for your fasting, you got low calories, a lot of exercise, not sleeping well, every system in your body is going to suffer. Your skin, your hair, your nails, your libido, your organs, everything. Cognitive function, your brain, right? You're not going to be able to function well at all. Therefore, why would you want to ruin your health for the sake of vanity? And when you go back to wanting to feel better anyways and adding more food in because your body will crash and start craving and you'll start eating crazy amount of food, right? Why would you want to ruin your health for the sake of vanity? Short-term vanity, right? So we're looking for long-term sustainable weight loss. I'm just going to jump right to it. It's all about building muscle. And the thing is, if you're in an extreme caloric deficit, you're not going to be able to build muscle at all, right? You have to build muscle if you want to have long-term fat loss. It's so much easier to maintain that fat loss if you have lots and lots of muscle in your body, right? So we still want to make sure we're tracking our calories, not just for the sake of calories, but also to become aware of our macro and micronutrient profile. So proteins, fats, and carbs, as well as our enzymes, minerals, and vitamins, and stuff like that. But here's one more thing with calories in versus calories out. So one, I don't recommend going too low with the calories. Start where you're at or figure out where you're at, get some awareness. That's why we're tracking. Use Chronometer.com or Chronometer as an app on the App Store. Highly recommend that. Just to get, again, awareness, and then we can start playing with the calories from there. The thing is though, a lot of people recommend fasting. Hey, why don't you just do intermittent fasting? It worked for me. Why don't you just do extended fasts, 24-hour fasts every 2 to 3 days or something? You increase your growth hormone by 2,000% if you fast for 24 hours. I still think that's calories in versus calories out. I trust me, I fasted for 10 years. I did so many different 3, 5, 7-day water fasts and stuff. I love fasting. I think there's a time and place for it. It's a tool in your toolbox. I don't think it should be permanently your eating window for the rest of your life. I think that's what I was doing. I crashed so horribly bad. But at the end of the day, it's like, I think the reason why people get results with fasting is because you're still in a caloric deficit. So number 2 is macro and micronutrients. Basically, ideally, we want to find the foods that yield the highest nutrient profile with the least amount of calories. Now, calories still are very important. We need fats, we need carbs and protein. That's actually the most important when it comes to nutrition. Like, If you can't get enough calories as a high nutrient diet on a high nutrient diet, you're going to suffer. You still need a lot of calories, right? To feel good, to look good, to get that metabolism working, the thyroid to function optimally. But nonetheless, opting for foods, if you're vegan, vegetarian, disclaimer, I was one for a few years. You might gag. I'm going to recommend some oysters, some organs, some salmon roe, some fish, some red meat. I can already hear everyone crying. But here's the thing. These are super high nutrient dense foods, lots of protein, good amount of fats, healthy saturated fats. And the thing is, when it comes to macronutrients, I get this question a lot. What ratio should you have? Well, let's discuss that real quick. So let me explain this. So I personally like carnivore diet. I've done so many different diets. I play with the carnivore diet. I play with repeat principles, autogenous principles. And I do try to listen to my environment. When it's winter, I eat a little bit more fat, less carbs, a little bit more protein. When it's summer, I eat a little bit more local, fresh fruits, tubers, potatoes, and stuff like that. I like to eat what's growing, what's realistically around in my environment. I think that's the most realistic way to diet. Obviously, if you're in Costa Rica, you're going to be closer to the equator, more sun, therefore you're going to be eating more local fruits. If you're in the dead of winter or fall, like we're kind of getting into right now, it's going to be very scarce. Unless you have a grocery store, of course, but naturally speaking, you're going to most likely be eating deer and cow and maybe some tubers and stuff like that, or root vegetables. So macronutrient ratios, I always get this question literally like every other day. I built this very simple ratio guidelines. There will be people from carnivore and keto hating on it. There will be people from repeat hating on it. I don't know if everyone's going to hate on it, but this is a very simple, basic guideline, right? It's just a very simple box that you can play with. It's not, I don't want to say it's a box, it's more like bumper plates to guide you. And you can always go back to it and you can play with the macro ratios as you please. Because ideally, we do want you guys becoming more intuitive in listening to your body. Do you need more fat? Do you need more carbs? Do you need more protein? But try to stay within these guidelines. Obviously, a carnivore diet, a keto diet, you're going to pretty much be eliminating carbs completely. I think an elimination, that's basically like an elimination diet in my opinion. We do recommend that for some people that have serious gut issues, oxalate sensitivity, stuff like that. There's a time and place. I mean, the ketogenic diet has been clinically proven to help with epilepsy and stuff like that. So there is a time and place for such diets. Do I think they're extremely sustainable? Maybe, maybe not. Depends, right? Everyone's individual needs are different, right? So elimination diets are nice. Let's say you eat like meat and butter and you can just slowly add in, do that for a couple months and you can slowly add in a carrot and slowly add in a fruit and see how you react. That's the whole point of an elimination diet. So I do like that for that reason. No matter what diet guidelines you follow, it's nice to always have that in your tool as a toolbox or in your toolbox as a tool. But nonetheless, the macro ratio that I would say to start with if you were confused is to never go below 20% protein, never go above 30% protein, never go below 30% fat, because you need fat for hormone production, protect you against toxicity in today's world. It's not just insulation, it's very, very important, sex hormones. And never go above 50% fat. Obviously, again, if you're keto carnivore, you're going to be doing a lot more fat. With carbohydrates, I say never go below 30% carbs. I know the repeaters are going to cringe and hate that. And never go above 50% carbs, in my opinion. Again, this is all opinion. These are just simple guidelines. If you want to do a little bit more fat, go for it. A little bit less carbs, go for it. If you want to do a little bit more carbs, go for it. A little bit less fat, it's up to you. The thing is, myself, I did super high carb, low fat, moderate protein for so many years, decades. I have become so much more fat adapted. I prefer high fat, moderate protein, lower carbs. It's what I prefer. I sleep better, better function, better hormone function, cognitive function, focus, right? Better workouts. So that's that with the macronutrients. Hopefully you get that idea. We're not going to harp on that too much because we got to talk about number 3, which is walking after each meal. This is a game changer. So we talked about calories in versus calories out. Track your calories, become aware. Macro and micronutrients, here's the general guidelines you can follow, you can play with it. Listen to your body, become more intuitive, right? In today's world, by the way, it's very hard to become intuitive to what your body needs because some people think red 40 is what they crave. It's like, no, you don't. You've just been so programmed and brainwashed with all these synthetic fertilizers and chemicals. You don't even know how to listen to your body. So there's that, right? Take it with a grain of salt. But Walk after each meal. This is very important, not only for circulation, drainage, posture, recovery, movement in general, stimulation of the spine, like we discussed earlier, feeding the brain, and the fact that we always talk about walking being pretty much the most important fundamental movement that you should be practicing every single day, but also because it's going to really, really improve your digestion, especially after a meal. And it's going to normalize your blood sugar. It's going to level out your blood sugar so you're not having those peaks and valleys, those crashes. This has been clinically proven many, many times. And again, if you have stomach issues, if you have indigestion after each meal, sometimes it's not so much the food. Sometimes it's a lack of movement. You don't have enough space. You have a lot of trauma, a lot of scar tissue around this area, right? So moving, twisting, because a lot of people think digestion is just bacteria and digestive juices, which it is mostly 90% bacteria and 10% digestive juices, but it's also pressure and mechanical stimulation and twisting, which helps us to digest better. So a lot of people think like, oh, I should go for a nap after each meal. I think you should go walk after each meal, then go for a nap. That's ideal, right? So walk after each meal, 10 to 20 minute walks after each meal is going to be a huge game changer. I would suggest at least 20 minutes, but if you only got 10 minutes, that's perfectly fine too. But make it a habit. Get your walks in like that. That's just a game changer. Number 4, high intensity interval training. 15 to 20 minutes, 3 times a week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You're going to be doing total body movements, and you're going to be doing that 3 times a week in a circuit. That's all you need, 15 to 20 minutes. That's all you need. Again, most of us, if we are unable to lose weight, we're in a stress state. If we're unable to build muscle, we're in a stress state. We got to get out of that stress state. So the last thing you want to be doing is 60 minutes of cardio, 60 minutes of working out. If you want to do long sessions, go for a super long walk. That's it. I don't want you doing too much. Time and time again, people are like, I'm not doing enough. I'm like, no, you need to do less. And they start doing less and their body starts to relax and then the weight just starts coming off. Because if you're in that survival state, sympathetic dominant state, your body's going to hold on to that fat and it's not going to be able to build muscle. Again, we need muscle to be able to sustainably keep the fat at a nice level. Now, the thing is, I don't want you guys to get shredded. And in fact, I'm a little bit too lean as it is. I'm trying to get a little bit more fat again because I do all these martial arts and stuff and weightlifting. And I don't like being too lean. I get anxious. Hormones don't feel good. My sleep doesn't feel good. My digestion suffers. I start stuttering like this. I can't talk right, So I don't like being too shredded, but we want to, again, find a nice level ground with our fat. We want to be able to control it and get to where we want to be, right? If you want to be shredded for a photo shoot or something, a beach season, go for it. This will help you get there. But again, HIIT training, high intensity interval training, 15 to 20 minutes, total body movements 3 times a week. Progressive overload, making sure you're recording every workout. You're not just recording and tracking your calories and your macronutrients, micronutrients, and your walks. You're also going to be tracking your workouts. You have to track your workouts. If you don't track your workouts, you're not going to make progress. You have to increase the weight, the strength, the performance, the technique, the sets, the reps, every single set or every single session, every single workout. That being said, I will probably do a video within the next week on an example high intensity interval training workout for you guys. So we'll do like total body circuit. We'll start with like a landmine, lunge to press. That's total body. It's everything. It's going to be huge on the body, right? That's why we only need 15 to 20 minutes. Then we'll do alternating dumbbell single arm snatch, right? And then we'll do some sled movements, among other things. We'll get to it, right? So stay tuned for that. Number 5, napping. 90% of your healing occurs during sleep. If you're not doing daily naps, you're missing out because most of us are unable to get the recommended 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night. I don't even think that's natural to get that much sleep. I mean, maybe. But either way, adding in a quick 10 to 60 minute daily nap, if you want to go longer, listen to your body, that's fine. Every single day, about midday, noon to 3 p.m. roughly, maybe even a little bit earlier if you wake up super early. That's going to be a game changer. Again, just take time to rest, put something over the eyes, ears. You can do a little bit of meditation, prayer, and focus on your breathing. You may sleep, you may not, but just take time to just rest every single day, 10 to 60 minutes. Nap daily, plus try to sleep more, enhance your sleep. You're going to be boosting your growth hormone. You're going to be boosting or balancing your hormones. Everything's going to be feeling better. And again, you're going to be getting out of that sympathetic dominant state so you can be less stressed and let go of that excess of water weight and fat. Speaking of fat, number 6, toxicity. Toxicity is huge, and it's one of the things I never hear anyone talk about. I got this idea, this concept from a few doctors. The main one I got it from was Agenus von der Plant's PhD. He discusses how in today's world we need fat more than ever before. We have a fat blog down below, a very extensive 10,000 plus word blog if you want to check that out. And the reason is because, again, we're in a very, very toxic world, chemicals, pesticides, heavy metals everywhere. And we're accumulating all these toxins. Just look at the blood work, look at the hair analysis tests that are coming up with people. It's insane. And a lot of that toxicity gets accumulated in the fat. The fat is what's protecting us. It's not just an insulation. It's not just for survival or sex hormone function production, cholesterol, right? Stuff like that, testosterone. It goes beyond that. Fat is also extremely beneficial. This is why in animals, you'll find the fat around the gland. In us humans, you'll find the fat around the brain, the glands, the spine, the organs, because the fat is protecting those vital areas. This is why if you're eating conventionally raised meat, we don't suggest eating the fat from that meat because that's where all the toxicity, the hormones, injections are going to go into. Rather, eating the muscle meat, it's going to be a lot safer if you are going to eat from an unclean animal, right? So that's why we recommend finding a nice source of grass-fed, grass-finished meat and eating the fat from that type of animal and keeping it less cooked. Because obviously the more you cook your fats, that's a whole other topic, you'll start to oxidize the fats. You can start to store hardened fats like cirrhosis and stuff. That's where the toxic fats start to come in. Beyond just polyunsaturated fats, saturated fats can also be problematic if you overcook them as well. So toxicity, again, that's a big one. And let me ask you something too. Why are we seeing such a vast increase of obesity in today's world? It goes beyond just, oh, people are eating more dead calories, muffins and stuff. There's so many calories. It goes beyond that. It's also a toxicity issue, right? Take it as you will. So your environment, you've got perfumes, toxic chemicals, toxic toothpaste, deodorants, VOCs from your sofa, paints, bedding, toxic bedding. Crack a window open wherever you are, get an air filter, change your water filter, all the stuff. We talk about that all the time. We'll list some stuff down below you can check out. We have blogs written on all this. Supplements, even supplements can be very, very toxic. Medicines, etc. Everything. All right, so number 7, last but not least, is your mentality. This is very important. I've actually seen a couple clients where we did do everything, and the last icing on the cake was the mentality. There was a lot of emotional baggage, a lot of trauma, a lot of guilt, a lot of resentment, a lot of anger and depression that was kind of being held back from either the childhood trauma. We all got some sort of trauma from one lesser varying degree or another. But the thing is, I do believe 100% that your mind can prevent you from reaching your goals with anything in life, of course. Muscle, martial arts, competitions, but also losing weight. I think there is a very much a direct correlation with traumatic baggage and not being able to shed that extra weight, those last bit of water weight, and you're kind of like holding in. So if you find a way to let go, to forgive, to forget, and to move on, to accept, I do believe that's going to help. I don't think it's everything, but I do believe it will help 100%. Take it as you will. There is science to back this up. There's some books. I don't have them off the top of my head, but I'll find some resources for you guys to look because I know everyone wants the science behind it. But either way, it can't help to be more positive and think less negatively about yourself, right? So take it as you will. Just to recap, calories in versus calories out. We're not trying to feel like crap, so we want to find a nice balance, but we want to become aware of how much we're eating. Track our calories, chronometer. Fasting can work, but it's still, I think, a form of calories in versus calories out, caloric deficit, right? So macronutrients, micronutrients, high nutrient dense foods, low calories, find a nice balance of macronutrient ratio and then become more intuitive, listen to your body. Walk after each meal, very imperative that we do that. It's paramount, 10 to 20 minutes at least. HIIT training, high intensity interval training, 15 to 20 minutes, 3 times a week. Total body movements, progressive overload, increasing your strength, your muscle, very important to grow muscle. We'll be doing a video about that very soon, I promise. And if I don't, just direct message me and say, hey, where's the video, dang it. And then nap daily. We got to heal with the naps. We got to get out of that stress state if we want to lose weight. Sleep more. Toxicity, very, very important. Again, because fat does bind to toxins. The more toxins we have, I do believe that is going to create more fat storages. to protect, not body's natural protection mechanism, right? So, and then last but not least, mental, letting go, positive, thinking more positively about yourself, less negatively, less despair. And yeah, if you got any questions, again, email us at support@mitigatestress.com. We are here to help. See you next video. God bless.